Commentary. It's the 2 p.m. kickoff at the King Power Stadium. Play has just got underway as the Leicester City take on Brentford. A sunny afternoon at the King Power Stadium, and a bit of a strange one this in terms of the home side. Leicester City not making any signings throughout the summer, and that rather sort of surprise announcement at the start of the week that Kasper Schmeichel was on his way out as well. Just wonder if there's perhaps a little bit of backroom unrest at Leicester, or perhaps they're just trying to cut back on costs. We'll wait and see how that pans out for them today and throughout the season. Brentford making a couple of signings throughout the summer. Their signings, a couple of them are in the team, and the Breeze already on the attack down the right-hand side, trying to get towards the edge of the penalty area. Back over with Aaron Hickey, a new signing. His cross gets a deflection, but Amate should stop that from going out for a corner. His clearance then headed on by Dewsbury Hall, but Brentford still keep possession at the edge of the Leicester City penalty area before eventually Tielemans brings the ball away. It's myself, Paul Szczerbakowicz, and Harry Jones taking you through the action. And Harry, a bit difficult to predict just how this game and just how Leicester's season's going to go.
Yeah, it's always difficult, isn't it? The first game of the season, you don't really know how teams are going to set up. Like you mentioned, signings coming in, you don't know how they're going to perform, especially ones that are coming to the Premier League as a fresh start. But like we said on Leicester's part, the lack of business done over the summer. I mean, we're already into the season now, and not a single signing through the door. It's the only club in the top 5 leagues in Europe to have not made a single signing, which is really worrying signs. And with the exits of Kasper Schmeichel, and we're looking at maybe Fofana, Maddison, Tielemans, all linked with moves away. You just do wonder whether there's a bit of unrest in the back room, and you just wonder how that will affect Leicester's season, especially starting now. You just think whether they're going to get off to a flying start and maybe combat those sort of issues that they've had, or whether it'll go the opposite way and they'll crumble.
I wonder. I mean, as I say, I certainly can't believe they would have just planned for Schmeichel to leave and Ward to just suddenly be promoted to first keeper, unless that was something that they were planning for a while anyway. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Just to remind you of the two teams, it is Dan Ward in goal for Leicester City, with the back three of Wesley Fofana, Johnny Evans and Daniel Amate. Timoty Castagne and James Justin are the two wide men, with Kieran Dewsbury Hall, Wilfred Ndidi and Yuri Tielemans as the three across the middle, with James Maddison in the number 10 role just behind Jamie Vardy. As for Brentford, it is David Raya in goal, a back four of Aaron Hickey, Pontus Jansson, Ben Mee and Rico Henry. The three across the middle are Matthias Jensen, Christian Norgard and Vitaly Janelt, with Brian Mbumo, Johan Visser and Ivan Toney as the attacking three. We've had nearly 3 minutes on the clock. Leicester haven't got over the halfway line yet, as this long ball goes up towards Jamie Vardy. There's a bit of a collision there with Rico Henry as well. He stays down on the ground, but we play on for the time being. And now Amate does actually put the ball out, and our referee, Australian referee Jared Gile, can come across and see what exactly has happened to the Brentford left back. I think he just got crunched a bit as he was jumping for that header. Yeah,
it just seemed like he took a little bit of a knock. He's sort of down on one knee now, so it seems as though he'll be okay to continue. You see a replay. It's actually a big challenge coming in the back of him there from Ben Mee that maybe made the contact there. I think it's an elbow from Mee that takes out Rico Henry. It looks a nasty one, but I'm sure it was completely unintentional being his teammate.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it's Jamie Vardy was jumping there as well, but I think it was Mee, as you said, who made the final contact. Ben Mee is one of those new signings in the Brentford 11 today, alongside Aaron Hickey. Two new players in defence, a couple of players on the bench as well for Thomas Frank, as Brentford look to start this season well, of course. There's always that danger with the second season syndrome. They talk about how difficult it is for a newly promoted team to stay up, but sometimes they still have that bounce from being a winning side, if getting promotion the season before. Sometimes it's that second season that can be quite difficult. But Leicester just looking a bit more comfortable on the ball now, as Tielemans goes out towards the left-hand side. Ball held up there by Justin, going back towards Ndidi now, and here is Fofana over the halfway line. He had some injury problems over the past 18 months. He'll be looking to try and stay fit. Of course, there were some rumours that there might be some clubs interested in him as well. There may still be players going out the door here at the King Power Stadium, as Ndidi very nearly caught in possession there by Janelt, just about keeps the ball alive for Leicester City. And now Amate down the left-hand side. A quick ball now, looking for Jamie Vardy into the penalty area. Strong challenge there. There's the ball won. And certainly a couple of the Leicester players look towards the referee. Just a quick wave of the arm to say he's not giving a penalty there. Didn't think there was much in that anyway, as the ball now back over on the right-hand side for Leicester City. Castagne back in towards Ndidi. James Maddison, another player who's been rumoured to be on Newcastle's wish list. So potentially it could actually be even more players out the door here for Leicester.
Yeah, it's worrying times as we see Chelsea getting closer and closer to a move for Wesley Fofana. Like you said, Newcastle had their first bid rejected for Maddison as we just break off there. But
yeah, well, Maddison was on the ball. It was a strong challenge on him at the edge of there. Then a follow-up effort coming from a long way out. It was a speculative effort, but it certainly looked like it could have been going goalwards, just a little bit over the bar in there. I think it was Dewsbury Hall with the effort from about 30 yards out. But certainly a good response from Leicester after the first few minutes, where Brentford really were pressing, making it difficult for the home side to get into any kind of stride. But now they've had a bit of possession, and it's David Raya's long clearance now up towards the halfway line, headed on by Johnny Evans, club captain. And Tielemans now, as he tries to turn, tripped there by Matthias Jensen, will now be hoping to get a bit more time in the first team. It was pretty much his place that Eriksson took when Brentford signed him towards the back end of January. So now, of course, Eriksson at Old Trafford. And by the way, Manchester United against Brighton is the other game that kicked off at 2 o'clock. That's also available on our service. But here come Leicester City now with James Justin taking on Aaron Hickey. Ball deflects off Justin last, does it? Yeah, I think it does. It's going to be a throw to Brentford now down there, right-hand side. And referee just asking Aaron Hickey to get a few yards further back towards that corner flag. So we see Brendan Rodgers. Of course, he always wants the very best from his teams, and he will certainly have prepared this squad. But all this seeming unrest and uncertainty can't be easy for him. As Leicester putting pressure here on Brentford. The Bees just struggling to get the ball away from their own penalty area. Hickey then goes down as he's challenged by Vardy. Vardy then trying to nutmeg Pontus Jansson. Couldn't quite manage it though. It deflects out for a Leicester corner. Yeah,
it was nice pressing from Leicester down that far corner. Hickey just getting caught out there as he tried to clear the ball away. It was a little bit unfortunate for him. He didn't really have any options. I think he just got the ball stuck underneath his feet. Vardy always ever present and pounced on it, but I think it was held up in the corner once again. No options in the penalty area, so Vardy had to try and work with what he had.
He did, and Brentford were susceptible to set pieces last season as this ball is whipped in, initially headed towards the edge of the box before Visser then volleys it towards the halfway line. It's headed straight back towards the Brentford penalty area. Ben Mee with a header now, but Tielemans has dropped deep, and he collects this ball for Leicester City, goes square to Ndidi. And now it's Fofana, who is still wandering back from the corner kick. He picks up possession here on the halfway line as Leicester City just slow things down. But there's plenty of players further forward. Brentford now trying to push up and get a bit more of an offside line just to make it a bit more condensed here for Leicester City. Certainly since the first couple of minutes, the Bees have struggled to get on the ball as Tielemans now for Leicester. Square to Ndidi. He's got options over on the left-hand side. And Marte joining into this move. Marte forward now to Tielemans, but forced to go back towards Johnny Evans. Coming up to 8 minutes on the clock. It is goalless between Leicester City and Brentford. And Johnny Evans now under pressure from Ivan Toney, who's not had a touch of the ball yet in these early stages. Back over now towards Castagne. A bit more space for him here as he tries to play a quick 1-2 there with Tielemans, but that's good work from Matthias Jensen to twice win the ball back there for Brentford. Norgard then going back towards Rico Henry, and finally he's able to put a bit more of a clearance on it up towards the halfway line. Visser chasing that one down, but Johnny Evans heads it on. That's really good play as well to keep that ball in play down the right hand side from Castagne, who's just unlucky that nobody in a blue Leicester shirt could pick it up. But now a ball played over towards the right here for Aaron Hickey, and Brentford can try and push forward. Hickey finding Mbumo. Back now towards Janelt and Norgard here on the right-hand side for Brentford. But they're not finding any way forward, so they're forced to track back towards their own half now. Janssen towards Ben Mee. Signed on a free from Burnley. Jensen now plays the ball over the top. Rico Henry's gone on the overlap. It's a good ball in as well, but it's a good header away by Johnny Evans. It needed to be, because Ivan Toney was lurking there at the edge of the 6-yard box. The loose ball now picked up 30 yards out by Janelt. Puts a cross in towards Mbumo, who hits it on the volley. It's a decent contact, but he is more left-footed. I think he'll be happy to get a right-footed effort on target, but it was never going to be a problem for Dan Ward.
No, it was a really good passage of play there from Brentford, especially down the left-hand side for the initial ball into the penalty area. Ivan Toney's had a fairly quiet start. We haven't really seen much from him so far, but he was there and waiting for the ball over the top. Just didn't quite catch over the top of Wesley Fofana's head. It came straight back out, and once again, a beautiful scoop on the edge of the box to pick out Brian Mbeumo on the right hand side. He hits it first time, like we said, and it's always hard to get the contact on that when it's falling in front of you, and you've got to hit it on the volley. He did well to direct it on target, but like we said, it didn't really have much direction to the corner. He's on his weaker foot, and it was fairly easy for Danny Ward to save in the end.
It was, but Brentford needed that, just a minute or two of possession after a strong spell from Leicester, but plenty of pressing in midfield there. Brentford having no time on the ball. Dewsbury Hall there deflecting the ball away from Norgard before Brentford eventually clear it, and Leicester now back in possession around about the halfway line now with James Maddison over towards the right hand side for Castagne. Castagne playing it towards Wesley Fofana. Options left and right for him. He goes over towards Tielemans on the right hand side, and again Brentford closing down as much as they can in midfield here. No real space for Leicester City. Johnny Evans now towards Ndidi. And Ndidi trying to feed that ball down towards Maddison, but Henry is there first, and he should have enough space there to deal with that. Deflects the ball off James Maddison. It's an interesting one. I think that if it wasn't for the sort of the rumours that we think about Leicester perhaps having some issues off the field, I still think that if I was James Maddison, I'd probably want to stay at Leicester over Newcastle, but now there could be a question mark over that.
Yeah, it just seems now with a lot of players seemingly on the out at Leicester, you just think from James Maddison's perspective, maybe he sees Newcastle as more of an ambitious club now moving forward. They've made some good signings. They're finishing. They finished a lot better last season, obviously after the takeover happened in January. So maybe he looks at that and thinks the ambition's there rather than at the King Power, where there's a lot of players on their way out, and it seems like it's a little bit more uneasy.
Yeah, and that's sort of that old club of Leicester. Schmeichel's now gone, of course. Jamie Vardy, of course, he's still there very much, but perhaps, dare I say, entering maybe the twilight of his career. I'm sure if he heard that, he'd probably want to silence me with a goal straight away. But you know what I mean? It's just obviously, you know, age does catch up with every footballer eventually, and it may just be that Leicester need a little bit of a broom just to sort of brush everything aside. But we'll wait and see. I think that financially, I'm sure that Maddison doesn't do badly playing for Leicester, but with the money that Newcastle have now, you'd imagine there'd be a significant pay rise moving to the northeast. But all that, of course, will become apparent. Still got just over 3 weeks of the window, so plenty could still happen. Certainly over the years, I've heard more than one manager, particularly managers of smaller teams, dare I say it, who've said that the window should really shut before the season starts, because a couple of big teams have a bad start, they start panicking and they start picking off players from smaller teams, messing up their season as well. Yeah,
it's a difficult one from the top end of the table. You want as long as you can in the window, don't you? As a strike there from range.
Oh yes, there is a strike there from Tielemans. No one really closing him down. He took the effort on early, caught it quite well, but Raya was always able to watch that in. He palms it to the side before it's cleared out for a throw. But that's where Brentford need to be careful. There's more than one player here from Leicester who can hit a great strike from distance, and players like Tielemans, like Maddison, like Dewsbury Hall, Castagne as well as Vardy, they need to be closed down. But now Brentford trying to go on a quick attack with the ball over the top down the right hand side, and Mbeumo gets there ahead of Justin. He then plays it back towards Hickey, who just holds it up. And Mbeumo again has nowhere to go down that right hand side, forced to go back towards Janelt. Janelt then feeding it into Hickey, just a little bit overhit though, and Marte gets there first. Justin's clearance gets a deflection, but I think it was a deflection off a Brentford player. And so it is out for a throw to the visitors. And Mbeumo going back towards Pontus Jansson. And under a bit of pressure there, he goes back towards David Raya. 13 minutes on the clock. It is goalless here at the King Power. It's also goalless at Old Trafford, where Manchester United are taking on Brighton. West Ham against Manchester City is the 4:30 kickoff this afternoon, as the ball now goes down the right-hand side. Chasing that one is Ivan Toney. But Johnny Evans gets there first, just about keeps it in play. Good challenge there, though, from Hickey to keep the move alive here for Brentford. And a cross coming in, which gets a slight nick, I think, on the way towards the near post. In any case, it loses a bit of its direction, and it's an easy save for Ward. But it's a little bit more end-to-end now, this game.
Yeah, I think Brentford have slowly grown into the game. Maybe first game of the season takes clubs maybe a little bit longer than others to set back into a decent rhythm, especially Brentford bringing in a couple of new players. Leicester got an almost unchanged side from last season. Well, it is an unchanged side from last season, as they've not brought anyone in, so maybe they'll adjust a little bit quicker than the new signings. But I think Hickey's been very impressive down the right hand side. He's moving forward well, and he knows when to stay back, and there he won the ball to give it to Mbeumo, who tried to get the ball into the box.
Absolutely, it's a good chance this for Hickey, who's Had some good time over in Italy, but now back in on the British Isles. Of course, Scotland International will be looking to try and establish himself here at Brentford as Norgard puts a challenge in down the Leicester City left. It's out for a throw, adjusted in towards Dewsbury Hall. And he then plays it back towards Wesley Fofana. Space here down the right-hand side for Castagne. Chooses not to cross it though. Brentford still playing quite a high line, so no real option for Leicester to get into the box. Now they might have a chance here with Castagne getting the ball back. He puts a cross in, and there's a good challenge just ahead. In fact, it was Vitaly Janelt just coming in, cutting across Kieran Dewsbury Hall, because Dewsbury Hall was waiting there, but Janelt puts it out for a corner.
Yeah, it's a really nice delivery in by Castagne. I don't think David Raya really knew whether to come or go there. He sort of took a step forward and realised he couldn't get it. It was into that corridor of uncertainty, a really dangerous delivery. And like you said, a fantastic block there from Janelt to get the ball away, because Dewsbury Hall had a free effort on goal there.
He did, and we're getting another replay of that effort from Tielemans a few minutes earlier. Raya was always going to see that one, but so just break off from that because the corner kick was taken quickly, whipped in to the edge of the 6-yard box, but that was easy for Raya. Saw that all the way, catches it and bowls it out quickly as well to Rico Henry, but he just sort of stumbled on the ball momentarily and just slows things down. Now, it may well be that he looked ahead and saw there wasn't really anyone to pass to, so he just thought he'd slow things down, but then Matthias Jensen switching play over to Hickey on the right-hand side. Hickey then trying to put the ball in on the overlap for Mbeumo. That one is stopped by Amate, but Brentford still keep possession here. And it's another ball down the right channel, this time one for Visser to chase. But that one is put out for a throw by Johnny Evans, who's quickly getting some instructions out to his teammates as well, just to get a bit more organised in defence. Throw on to Brentford now down the right-hand side. As Thomas Frank using this moment with the ball going out of play just to call David Raya over towards the bench. Get some sort of instructions out to his goalkeeper. Raya's distribution is a big part of how Brentford try and start their attacks. It may well be there's a bit of a problem there for Raya, perhaps. Looks a little bit groggy there. We'll keep an eye on that. But it's a throw to Brentford, level with the penalty area. Long throw from Jensen into the box. And it's eventually hooked clear by Wilfred Ndidi back towards the halfway line, where Rico Henry has stayed behind as the last outfield player. Goes back to Raya, who then switches the ball over towards the left-hand side. And keeping possession now for Brentford is Christian Norgard. On the left, Leicester playing around 25 yards out with their offside line, just to try and restrict Brentford, but the Bees pushing forward. Visser goes down. I don't think he's ever going to get a free kick for that one, as Tielemans tries to feed that ball through, but it's well played there by Norgard. Brentford winning the ball back. And Henry and Norgard just exchanging a couple of passes before it goes back towards Ben Mee. But again, now in the last 5 minutes, I would say Brentford are starting to edge it now.
Yeah, they are. I think they've managed to settle the ball down, and especially in their favour as well. They're not really allowing Leicester much time on the ball. They're happy to work it left to right, and they're not rushing to go forward. It's still 0-0. They've got plenty of time. They can sort of suss out how Leicester are going to set up defensively, and I think they're doing that smart.
They are, as the ball goes over the top now. The flag stays down. Great chance this as Visser breaks into the box. Leaves the ball in the end for Tony. And Tony, as he gets towards Dan Ward, I'm not so sure there was much of an argument for a penalty. But it was Visser and Tony breaking into the box. Indeed, he hooked it up in the air. No chance of Tony being offside as this ball finds him. And actually, it's a really heavy touch there from Ivan Toney. Seeing that replay, he'll be disappointed, I think.
Yeah, I was just going to say that final touch there really killed off the attack from Ivan Toney. The first one was beautiful to nestle the ball down. He killed the weight of the ball so perfectly, but then as soon as he did that, he tried to get the ball out of his feet to try and go one-on-one. I think Fofana was coming in as well. I think he realised the defender was on his shoulder, and I think he just rushed it, took that heavy touch. Danny Ward came out and swept up, but the Leicester defence just switched off there. You see Fofana and Evans both stepping up as the ball comes over the top. Tony completely onside and nearly caught them out.
Yeah, and he was onside by a good 2 or 3 steps as well, so that's something that Leicester need to be aware of. But here they come now, the home side, down the right with Castagne, back towards Tielemans. Again, no easy route towards the box, back towards Fofana. Dewsbury Hall's dropped a little bit deeper now. He goes square to Tielemans. There's options for him in the box in the form of Justin and Vardy. But he just holds the ball up, going back towards Fofana again. Looking for Castagne on that right flank. Henry steps up just to try and restrict that space, as Ndidi, Fofana and Tielemans now in a passing triangle. But this is still a long way away from the Brentford penalty area. Over now on the left-hand side as Amate goes in towards Ndidi. And now space for Tielemans. He's got Vardy ahead of him, as he's got Maddison as well. The ball comes in, and it's not a bad ball in at all. and it was James Maddison with the header. Raya was at full stretch there. We'll see from the replay just how close that was. But again, there wasn't any sort of real surprise there from Leicester. They just kept the ball patiently until they were able to find a good cross into the box. And really, Brentford's defence a little bit at sea there.
Yeah, it's a very shaky defending there from Brentford. But as the ball comes in, I think Maddison's always stretching to get there. Couldn't really direct it much. It was more of a glance. He just tried to nestle it in the bottom corner. From our angle, it looked as though it might have been heading in, but I think after watching it again, David Raya definitely had the near post covered. I thought if he'd been beaten there, it would have been poor goalkeeping. But I think he saw it the whole way. I was going to be surprised if it did manage to go in there with how far across David Raya was.
Yeah, and that's certainly something that Brentford should have really been able to. As I say, the ball from Tielemans was excellent, but it shouldn't have really got through to Maddison in the way that it did. Here come Leicester again now. They're just starting to find a bit more of a spring in their step. Castagne back to Tielemans, and space now for Maddison. Perhaps just an unnecessary step over from him there. He could have tried to get that ball into the box, but he goes back towards Tielemans, right-hand edge of the penalty area. And here is Ndidi now. That's a really poor touch. Straight to Mbeumo, and now Brentford can go on the counter with a quick ball played down the left here for Matthias Jensen. And he's just looking up, waiting for options. The counter-attack is pretty much done for Brentford now. In fairness, Jensen didn't have many options to go forward, and also you've got to credit Leicester. They got back in numbers very, very quickly there. So the Bees just now happy to keep a bit of midfield possession. Back with Pontus Jansson. Again, the Brentford club captain. He's got a new partner here in Ben Mee. A couple of regular centre-backs for Brentford still out injured in Christopher Ayer and Ethan Pinnock. So once they're back, there'll be a good bit of competition for the starting places.
Yeah, I think it was very smart to bring in somebody like Ben Mee. I mean, on a free from Burnley, you can't say no to a Premier League proven defender, can you? And a player with his experience is always going to be nice to have in the changing room, and especially competing for places. Now there's that depth there in Brentford's back line that maybe wasn't there a season or two ago. So they've now got numbers which will definitely be a plus for Thomas Frank's side.
Absolutely, and signing an out-and-out right-back as well. There was actually a Brentford fan Twitter account which counted the days since Brentford had signed an actual right-back as opposed to a player being asked to play in that position. But I think that Twitter account could be quite calm now with Hickey being signed as Brentford pushing forward now down the left. Visser's ball into the box, swept away by Johnny Evans. It finds Jamie Vardy on the halfway line, leaves it now for James Maddison. And Maddison square towards Dewsbury Hall as his ball down the left-hand side. Doesn't get quite through towards Jamie Vardy. Raya there able to make the save as here come Brentford again. Looking to try and play it long, or get rid of it too early. Just happy to sit with it in possession. Here is Ben Mee over towards Rico Henry. Just to say as well, it is still goalless at Old Trafford. And we mentioned Christian Eriksen. Christian Eriksen is in the starting 11 for Manchester United today. Got the number 14 shirt for Erik ten Hag this season. Interesting to see exactly how it seems like the United board have sort of backed Ten Hag to start that new era at Old Trafford, but of course there have been a few dawns at Old Trafford since Sir Alex Ferguson left. Do you think that Ten Hag potentially can get that little bit more out of this team now?
Well, I think they needed to back Ten Hag. I mean, the amount of managers that have come and gone since Sir Alex Ferguson's retirement, I think it's been a real failure of a rebuild time and time again. I think Jose Mourinho provided the best sort of football they had, and at least won the Europa League with them. They looked a little bit more positive, but as a whole, no one's really been able to replace Sir Alex Ferguson. So I think they needed to back Erik ten Hag, because there's only so many times you can go through manager to manager.
Absolutely, I think that's the point, isn't it? That you can either change manager very quickly, and then of course you've got his players to deal with the new squad and everything else. It just makes things more complicated. But here come Leicester City, and James Justin really is playing in a very advanced role. He's almost as an attacking winger at times for Leicester down that left-hand side, but his run was stopped, and Leicester now trying to just keep possession in midfield. It's with Tielemans back to Ndidi. We'll just see out this passage of play before I hand over to Harry for the remainder of this first half, as Maddison down the left-hand side exchanging passes with Dewsbury Hall. Back now towards Daniel Amate, just looking for that window to get across into the area. It's back with Amate again. He seemed to look up towards the box like he was going to cross it, but decides to go back towards Fofana. Now it is with Ndidi. Towards Castagne, back to Ndidi, but no options to get through to the box. We have reached the 24th minute in this game now. It is goalless between Leicester City and Brentford, and it will be Harry to take us through to half-time.
Yeah, Fofana just switching the play over to the left-hand side. Amati drops it into Shrewsbury Hall, who's sat quite deep, but that pass was slightly wayward, and Brentford are trying to build out from the back here as it delivers back to Raya. Raya decides to not take any chances. He sends the ball along looking for Ivan Toney, who was beaten in the air by Johnny Evans, and now Leicester will have a chance to rebuild from the back after the last attempt of possession football failed. But here comes Wesley Fofana moving forward, picks out Tielemans. Tielemans turns away smartly from Ben Mee there, as now Castagne's got a little bit of room to deliver a ball into the box. It's a dangerous one, but it's headed away by Pontus Jansson, delivered back in by Fofana. This time Raya will be able to claim and hold the ball in both hands there, as Castagne enjoying a little bit too much room down the right hand side for Thomas Frank's liking.
Yeah, there's been a problem a couple of times here in this game that Brentford, for all their organisation defence, they are just at times backing away a little bit, giving Leicester some space. We saw Tielemans with the effort before Castagne there, enjoying a bit more space down the right hand side, and again Raya's clearance going straight to Tielemans, but on this occasion Brentford are at least momentarily able to win it back.
Yeah, Visser just trying to flick the ball away from Ndidi, but his defensive strength to a little bit too much for Visser as they move forward now. Dewsbury Hall helps it out towards James Justin, who, like we've mentioned before, is playing a fairly advanced role as his pass back in field, almost cut out there by Toney, but a good sliding challenge from James Maddison plucks it back in favour of the home side. Fofana picks out Ndidi, spreads it out to the left now. Amati helps it on to Maddison. He's facing one-on-one now against Vitaly Janelt, but they'll try and work the ball around the Brentford side, but they've lost out there. A direct pass from Maddison cut out, and now they'll move forward here with Mbeumo down the right hand side, and be picked out once again. And Brentford just struggling to keep possession once winning it back here. They're giving the ball away fairly sloppily, as Leicester now like to move forward once again, but Brentford packed in quite compact, not really allowing much of the ball to go through the middle. Leicester are having to work it out wide. They're using the fullbacks as almost wingers now. As you just look at the way they set up their formation, it's a fairly narrow formation, so it does give both Justin and Castagne room to just push forward.
It does, yeah. I think that's the point, is that they don't get too much space once they get near the penalty area. But certainly the midfield, you are seeing Amate and Fofana pretty much playing as additional central midfielders at times, which does give Leicester a few more options in the build-up. As a great ball's played there to Castagne. That's another thing that we've noticed in this game as well, Harry, that Castagne and Justin on paper are supposed to be the wide men of a defensive back five or a midfield three, but actually they're almost playing like attacking wingers alongside Vardy.
Yeah, they are. I think the fact that it's a fairly defensive midfield there, as Ndidi and Tielemans both like to play from deep and dictate play. So Dewsbury Hall likes to go box to box, so they've got that defensive solidity that they can afford to push the wingers forward, and Fofana and Amati can fill out the sort of left and right back roles when they are in transition from defence to attack.
Yes, absolutely. As an offside flag goes up there against Jamie Vardy as that ball was being played in from the right hand side. And Brendan Rodgers, I think you'll be a little bit happier now, in so much that Brentford aren't really able to get any kind of possession in midfield. It's been a good few minutes since the Bees had any kind of attempt at getting forward. But for all that dominance from Leicester, not too much end product so far.
Yeah, they finished the season quite well last season, Brendan Rodgers' side. Unbeaten in their final 4 games with 3 wins and a draw. They'll hopefully want to carry that form into the new season starting today, but with the unrest of players coming and going, maybe they might need to put their hands in their pockets and spend a bit of money, depending on who is next to leave the Midlands, as David Raya plays the ball short into Pontus Jansson, helped out towards Ben Mee down on this left-hand side. Mee tries the ball over the top, looking for the run of both Visser and Ivan Toney, and Rico Henry was there trying to get involved, but it'll be cut out now, and Castagne tries a hopeful ball forward, looking for the run of Jamie Vardy. It was a bit optimistic there. I think he was trying to lift it over the top of all the defenders. He ran out of options, and he tried the hit and hope in the attempts that Jamie Vardy would latch on to the end of it. Wasn't meant to be this time, as Brentford restart over on the far side. Aaron Hickey looking to play forward, but he wasn't really showing for him like he wanted, so he'll go back. Janssen now finds Mee. Matthias Jensen just dropping in a little bit deeper to help out the defenders to try and transition and play out from the back, as now David Raya inviting a little bit of pressure there from Jamie Vardy, and they're getting backed into a little bit of a corner here, Brentford, as the ball goes long, looking for the feet of Ivan Toney, but this time it won't come off as finally they've allowed a little bit of respite as Wilfred Ndini gives away a foul out just on the edge of the Brentford box.
Yeah, just lacking a little bit of metal in that midfield at Brentford right now. It's, as I say, away from home against Leicester, even with a couple of perhaps off the field issues, it's still going to be a very difficult place to come and actually dominate midfield. I don't think Brentford were expecting to do that. But what must be a bit of a worry for Thomas Frank and his coaches is that midfield really isn't able to match Leicester at all. They're restricting them and Leicester aren't creating chances, but Brentford for their part really aren't able to do anything right now.
Yeah, Maddison and Dewsbury Hall working well together, interchanging, supporting Vardy. One drops deep, the other goes a little bit more advanced, and Brentford midfield really struggling to deal with them as Italiano runs the ball out of play down the far side as Leicester in a rush to get things back underway and take the throw in quick, trying to play out from the back here. Evans now finds Ndidi with a really smart pass into the feet of James Maddison, who turns away from one and then drifts the ball out wide. It's nice play here from Leicester as they've opened up a lot of space down the right hand side. Now Fofana training forward there and finds Castagne back into the Frenchman Fofana, and now Castagne once again trying to work it between the two and see if a gap opens up behind the defence, but it doesn't this time, so they'll switch the play over to the left hand side. Maddison and Dewsbury Hall linking up there. Really nice play from Leicester. Maddison has a shot from range. This one goes fairly over the crossbar. It wasn't really going to trouble David Raya from there, but more impressive signs from Leicester than what we've seen in the last 10 or so minutes.
Well, is that the build-up from Leicester is good. The end product, whether it's been crossing that hasn't been quite accurate, or in this case it's a shot, is the ball was just slightly to the side of Maddison. It wasn't in the ideal position for him. Leant back a little bit as well. So as you said, as soon as he struck it, you knew it wasn't going to trouble David Raya. But again, it's more time in possession for Leicester with Brentford. The best they can do is just to try and restrict them. But Raya's clearance now might do something for Brentford.
Yeah, Ivan Toney latches onto the end of it, flicks it over the top of the defence for Vista to try and run onto the end of, and James Justin will pick things back up, try and play out from the back once again as Tielemans really under pressure there from Norgard, but they'll still play out here, Leicester, and now Vardy's got a little pocket of space one-on-one with Pontus Jansson here. He'll have to go alone here, Jamie Vardy, a lack of options, but he's done really well to draw a corner out of the Bees captain, so Leicester with a chance to throw some bigger bodies into the penalty area and maybe threaten the goal from set pieces.
This is a good chance for Leicester to say from open play. They've got all the possession but not really able to create too many chances. A couple of corner kicks that they've had so far haven't troubled Brentford too much, but they'll be hoping that this one will be a bit better as Pontus Jansson sticking with Jamie Vardy. They're just making sure that there was no surprise there from the Leicester number 9. And a chance now for Leicester with this corner kick from the left-hand side. We'll just wait to see whether it's going to be an in-swinger from Maddison. I would imagine it would be. Haven't quite been shown the other corner of the field yet. So plenty of Leicester players waiting around about the penalty spot here, and it is going to be a ball whipped in by Maddison. Yeah,
Maddison to take the corner. It's a really good delivery into the front post, and it's a massive header from Timoty Castagne. What a delivery there from James Maddison to get the assist. Castagne making the run completely unmarked. He flies in at the near post. Nothing David Raya can do. 1-0 to the home side.
Well, they've been trying in open play, Leicester, and not really getting too far, but a set piece in the end gives them the lead that they have deserved. If you look at the amount of possession they've had, they've looked like the only side really likely to score, barring a couple of moments in possession for Brentford. But it's a good ball whipped in. The other thing you have to say, though, is for all the good whip on the cross, Timoty Castagne at no point in that run towards heading the ball is he marked. He's completely unmarked around about the penalty spot. He's unmarked at the edge of the 6-yard box, and there's a Brentford player sort of feebly jumping with him just at the last second when he's already heading the ball past David Raya. So Brentford's problems from last season in terms of marking set pieces are continuing into the new campaign, and Leicester finally getting the goal that all their possession would have warranted.
Yeah, 62% possession in favour of the home side. They've had 5 attempts with 2 on target. You'd say it's fairly with the run of play that what we've seen here, as we'd mentioned, Leicester throwing the fullbacks forward, allowing them a little bit more space attacking wise, as Brentford now come back on the counter attack straight from kick-off. Johan Visser down the left hand side, he's run out of options, will play back in field now as it goes back towards Visser. It's a really good chance here. He gets to the byline. Visser trying to cut it in, and as an effort on goal, it's saved by Danny Ward to draw a corner for the Bees, and what an instant reply that was.
Well, there's a slightly sheepish look on Johan Visser's face because there were options to pass. I think obviously he's a forward and he wants to get on the score sheet. The angles were slightly tight though. Could have looked to cut it back to Yana, who was unmarked. Tony a little bit further along the 6-yard box, but Visser from a tight angle tries to shoot there, and it's well saved with, I think it was Ward diving and Evans stood just beside him. Brentford now with the corner kick from the left-hand side.
Yeah, it'll be a right-footed in-swinging ball for the Bees as it's delivered towards the front post, similarly to Castagne. I think the last touch was off Jamie Vardy, so it'll go straight back out for another corner to the away side. Vardy receiving a high five of his teammates. James Maddison for his efforts at the near post. Another chance to deliver a ball. Maybe they'll want to go a little bit more direct in towards the penalty area rather than that dashed ball into towards the front post. This time it will go straight back to Vardy again. Another poor delivery. Vardy easily clears that one, but picked up just on halfway by Rico Henry. Now they'll look to build it from the back once again. They've still got a lot of their bigger players in and around the penalty area here, Brentford, as they look to try and get the ball out wide to maybe swing another ball into the area, as we see Ben Mee jogging backwards, so maybe the attempted cross into the area won't be the desired option for Brentford now. Pontus Jansson's still in and around the penalty spot, so they've still got a little bit of height there as he's trying to reach to the ball as James Justin gets there first, and Leicester really struggling to get the ball away after that flurry of corners from Brentford. Really lucky there to get away with that attempted move. Yuri Tielemans, and James Justin plays it to Maddison. Maddison receives it once again off Tielemans. Tielemans sprays it out wide. James Justin now has a little bit of space to run into and a lack of options forward. We'll go back to Maddison. Now Maddison picks out Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. Back to James Maddison once again. Now he got the assist for the goal from the corner spot. Now for Fafana. Leicester happy to slow things down now. Being a goal up, they do have the luxury of controlling the tempo like they have done for most of this game so far, as Ndidi now plays a direct ball into the feet of Tielemans. Castagne once again in a more advanced area, plays in field towards Ndidi now, and he does well to direct the ball into the feet of Wesley Fafana, as it looked as if the ball from Castagne was a little bit rash, but they're still in possession, Leicester. 36 minutes played, it still remains Leicester 1, Brentford 0. In the other game in the Premier League, Brighton have taken an early lead against Manchester United at Old Trafford. Pascal Gross, the goal scorer, just on the stroke of the 30th minute. So the start for Erik ten Hag's reign in Manchester has not gone to plan as Leicester float the ball forward. Tielemans trying to get there, but it's headed on by Jensen. Now, and Wemu trying to skip the ball away from his feet, and Fafana will pick out Amati out on the left-hand side. Brentford struggling with options moving forward. They're not moving the ball quick enough there.
They're just not, I don't think they're offering enough to actually trouble Leicester. They're sitting back as deep as they can to make it difficult for Leicester to get into their box. But Leicester are one up now, so Brentford have got to be a little bit more expansive, because if the game just goes like this for the remainder of the first half and into the second, Leicester will win because there won't be enough pressure from Brentford. So they've got to try and do something just to win this ball off Leicester a little bit further up the field.
Creativity moving forward that maybe the likes of Christian Eriksen provided for this Brentford side last season. That spot, you could say, hasn't been filled since losing Eriksen to Manchester United. There's the ball forward looking for Jan Visser, but it might be picked up now, and indeed he does really well to dispossess Norgard. And now Leicester with bodies forward. Dewsbury-Hall into the feet of Vardy. His first touch let him down slightly, and the ball will go back towards David Raya from Vitaly Janelt. Long ball forward, flicked on by Ndidi once again, and Castagne losing out this time to Rico Henry, who's maybe stayed down on the floor there. I'm not sure whether he's got back to his feet. Just waiting to see him in our picture here as James Maddison slows play down, I think.
Yeah, I think he's thinking about whether to put it out for a throw in the end. I think you see that the man is up, so he's able to play on. Here is Amate moving forward for Leicester now.
Yeah, 38 minutes played, Leicester 1, Brentford 0. Marty picks out Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, who's dropped quite deep to receive the ball. Leicester are happy to just move the ball from left to right here with no real press coming from Brentford. There's not much urgency to win the ball back, as now all too easy for Leicester as the ball into the box by James Justin falls on the edge of the box to Maddison. He strikes an effort on the volley. It was a fairly tame one. I think he tried to get more placement on it than he did power there, but it goes straight into the hands of David Raya.
Yeah, in the end it was a ball that was straight at Raya, but you never know. I think if Maddison, I don't think Maddison was forced to take this on first time. It was a very difficult one technique-wise to take down and get on target. He could have perhaps just taken a touch and then flicked it out wide towards Castagne, who really could have put his laces through it as well. But Maddison took the effort on, and as you said, it was an easy save for Raya in the end.
Yeah, Maddison, I'm sure he'll be eager to keep his stellar form against Brentford up, as he scored in all three of his starts against Brentford, both in the Premier League last season and in the FA Cup in early January 2021. 2 strikes against the Bees last term ended up being the winning goals of the game, so a fairly happy record on his part against Thomas Frank's side. Got the assist for the goal earlier on today. He's had a couple of efforts on target. I'm sure he'll want to get his name on the score sheet and maybe drive that price up that Newcastle are asking for him, as Castagne loses out there to Christian Norgard.
I'll just ask as well, you've mentioned James Maddison. Does he go straight into that Newcastle 11 then, do you think?
I think he would. I think he'd go in alongside Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton. I think there'd be a fantastic midfield 3.
Absolutely, yeah. As I say, I mean, Willock had a very good game for Newcastle yesterday. But of course, that is what we're expecting now with Eddie Howe having the transfer funds. There are going to be competition for places, and there'll probably be 2 or 3 players that would comfortably get into other mid-table Premier League teams that are going to be fighting for that position at Newcastle. So it'll be fascinating to see whether or not Newcastle do come back with another bid for Maddison. He's certainly been involved in this game, as a ball from Dewsbury Hall seems to surprise James Justin there, hits him on the heel as he was running down the left-hand side, but he's still able to keep possession and go back to Amate. There's just no second ball for Brentford right now.
No, it's very stagnant in terms of the away side's play. There's not really much urgency to put the Leicester side under pressure when they're in possession. It's all becoming too easy for Brendan Rodgers' men. We had question marks coming into the game whether there was some unrest behind the scenes with Kasper Schmeichel's shock exit, and an array of other players who were also looking at leaving King Power, but they've started this game fantastically well now as James Maddison on the edge of the box. He has a bit of space, it's fallen to Tielemans. It's not the man you want to see on the edge of the box as he strikes it, hits the post, and it's still in play here for Leicester. It falls to James Maddison once again. His effort blocked by Pontus Jansson. They've got away with one there, Brentford, as Leicester looking more and more likely to grab a second.
Brentford have got to be careful they don't concede again before half-time. The way Brentford have played, I would struggle to give them a chance of getting an equaliser, let alone pulling 2 goals back. Again, Raya is beaten, all ends up with that strike, hits the base of the post, flicks back in towards the middle of the penalty area before a follow-up effort from Maddison eventually deflects away for a corner. But yes, certainly, if we've got 3 minutes plus injury time before half-time, but if this half had another 10 minutes to play, I'd be saying that it's a very good chance that Leicester would double their lead.
Yeah, they've got a good chance here from the corner, as the ball did ricochet off the feet of Pontus Jansson, who threw himself in the direction of James Maddison's toe-poked effort, tried to just lift it towards David Raya as best he can, and he'll go over to take the corner as a result. Can he replicate his first delivery about 15 or so minutes ago? One of the Leicester defenders up and floating around the penalty area. Can Brentford deal with this one better than they did last time out? James Maddison to deliver the in-swinging right-footed ball. It's a deep one, it goes straight into the hands of David Raya. That one wasn't as inviting as the first time. It looped way too much, very easy for Raya to come and claim. Yeah,
it was always too close to Raya. Didn't have that arc getting away from the goalkeeper to start with, as Brentford now trying to play a ball over the top, looking for the run of Visser. That one is dealt with, and it's out for a throw to Brentford, which they're trying to take quickly, but it's all scraps for Brentford at the moment. And as I say, with that shot hitting the post, a couple of other efforts at Raya, a couple of efforts going over the bar, Leicester really could be quite annoyed that they're only 1 goal up.
Yeah, it's an interesting first half that we've seen on this opening weekend of the Premier League, as Leicester taking the lead, but like you said, I think they'll be unhappy to go into half-time not being 2 goals up the way they played in the last 10 or so minutes. Brentford very much got away with one after the strike from Tielemans ricocheted off the post back into play, but just from that throw in there, it looked like Ivan Toney wanted to take it quickly. He then realised he's the man that's meant to be in the box. They probably shouldn't, but maybe taking it quickly was the right idea. There's just no one really moving forward for Brentford. If he took it quickly into the feet of Mbeumo, there's absolutely nobody there in support. It's a very defensive display we've seen from this Brentford side. Not really any intent to move forward, as now Jansson Plays Hickey down the right-hand side. Got options forward, but Hickey will decide to take on his man. That does really well to beat Kiernan Dewsbury Hall. He's still moving with it, Aaron Hickey. Decides to turn back, plays into the feet of Jan Elt. Jan Elt with the switch ball over to this left-hand side now, and Jensen picks it up. We're just a minute away from the mandatory 45th minute. As he goes back in field to Ben Mee. Ben Mee finds Rico Henry. Henry cuts back inside, tracked closely there by Castagne, and Ben Mee will have to receive it back off him as he's been ushered back by the Belgian right back. Janssen now. He's back in towards Norgard, who's dropped into a more central defensive role there and just allowing the Brentford wingers to push up and provide a bit more attacking support as the ball's now bobbling around the middle of the park, and it will be picked up here by Jamie Vardy. He's got options moving forward now, finds Tielemans. Tielemans has Maddison out wide, tries to lift it over to him. It's a really good ball there from Tielemans. Now Maddison has a little bit of space, cuts back in on the right foot, once again onto the left. He's chopping and changing direction. He just needed to bite the bullet there, but he's lost out, and Brentford have got away with one again as the ball forward once again picked up by Evans, and Brentford struggling to get out.
Yeah, couldn't even get over the halfway line, but as you mentioned with Maddison, it's almost like he almost dazzled himself there. The first step over was fine, but after that I think he did one too many tricks and in the end just lost the ball. We've got 30 seconds to play in this half as we've had 1 minute of injury time.
Ball into the penalty area there by Kiernan Dewsbury Hall, headed away by Brentford, and now Norgard will have a second bite of the cherry, and this time it does past the halfway line, but headed straight back in to his teammate from Wesley Fofana. Tielemans the man to nod it down safely into the feet of Johnny Evans. Just ticking up to 10 seconds left of the first half, and it looks like we'll be going into the break as things stand now, as Leicester don't seem in any rush to move forward as they cut the ball over to the left hand side. The referee has blown his whistle, so we will go into half time. Remaining as it stands, Leicester 1, Brentford 0.